All right, today I want to talk about stealing from your competitors. Now, first, this is ethically stealing from your competitors. I don't know what you're into, Mister or Mrs. But if you're in an ecosystem that's hyper competitive, especially if you have a competitor that's just hemorrhaging money, or if you have a couple of them, they're just spending money hands over fist, and you might not necessarily be able to keep. All right, maybe you can compete, but you want an additional way to strategically sneak yourself in there, and right at the last minute, boom, swoop in and steal the deal. We're going to talk about exactly how to do that using paid traffic. So these are the channels we're going to cover: search, display, Gmail, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. These first four all live inside of Google Ads, because Google Ads is the best, objectively speaking. I'm going to go through them pretty quick. You should be able to, I think, if you know how to run Google Ads, you should be able to do these rather easily. If you don't, we've got a ton of other videos that teach you how to do that too. So we won't be diving into the dashboard too deeply, because I want to talk about strategy today, not necessarily the button pushing. But this is all pretty easy to figure out. I think the strategic implementation is what's creative about it, but there's nothing fancy in terms of the setup. So the first, and honestly the thing that you should just be using by default, is making sure that you're bidding on your competitors' key phrases. You can't use trademarks in your ad copy, but you can bid on trademarks. So that's a really big misnomer. A lot of people think that that's not allowed. It absolutely is. You can bid on just about anything that you want, with a few exceptions. So you can bid on business names, product names, anything that is specific to your competitor. So if your competitor has a really specific product, then you have a great alternative. Bid on the product name. If your competitor's brand is, they've done a lot of brand building, a lot of people are searching for your competitor, bid on the brand name. I strongly recommend building competitor-specific landing pages. Now, already, if you've been watching my videos, I don't like squeeze pages. And I'm not talking about squeeze pages. I'm talking about landing pages. Build a competitor-specific landing page, because it helps up your quality score. When you're bidding on competitive phrases, you tend to have a poor quality score, because Google knows, hey, you're not these people. So you can still show up. You can rank, as high as position number 2 or number 1 if they're not bidding on it. But in order to improve your quality score, which can also improve the amount you're paying, have a competitor-specific page. And so you can, everybody likes the us versus them page. And you can just make it friendly but honest. This is why we're better. Don't try to outbid your competitors. You're not going to do it. If they're bidding on their own brand, and they should be, to protect their brand, you should be too, by the way, they're always going to have a higher quality score than you are, because they're always going to be more relevant. So it's okay to settle for position number 2. If you try to beat your competitors for their own brand, it's a losing proposition. I'd also recommend tailoring your offering to your competitors' weaknesses. If there's something, if they charge exorbitant shipping rates, or their return policy isn't as good as yours is, or they have long-term contracts and you don't, figure out what it is that the prospect is already going to be met with, what their objections are going to be, and then tailor your offering to combat those or be combative, let's say, with those objections. And then the very last thing is, make sure to take advantage of the ad extensions. You can build ad extensions on an ad group basis, so ad extensions that are specific to the ad groups, and have those be specific to the competitive campaign as well. So you can have pages that are just for a competitor that you add into your ad extensions, which is great, because you get expanded real estate inside of the user's view, and you really get to go after your competitor. So using search, I think, is one of the strongest ways. It's one of the more expensive, because search terms obviously are more expensive since they're high commercial intent, but it really works. Here are a couple examples. So if I search for, now notice I didn't say Monday.com here. I just said Monday, which is hysterical, because it shows you how aggressive both of these people are. Here's Monday.com protecting their brand, as they should be. And then here's Asana. And Asana is sitting there trying to steal Monday's traffic, so to speak. And you will notice that Asana has a Monday-specific URL. And as they should, because this is going to help improve their quality score. It also lets you know, as a prospect, if you're interested in looking at Monday.com and you see Asana's comparison, and you can see that they have, Asana.com /compare/Monday. That to me is far more compelling than just, throwing your brand there. You'll also notice that they've got a couple of, again, I think this could be competitor specific. I can't prove it, but here at the bottom, if you can see that, it says why teams choose Asana. So they're instantly giving you the ability to compare and contrast between them and, an alternative solution. I think they've done a really good job here. Another example is Chegg, if I'm saying that right. If you search for their brand, you'll see sellbackyourbook.com. And Chegg isn't even doing a good job here at purchasing their own brand. Now, there's a bunch of reasons they might not be showing up. Maybe I'm not inside of whatever market they've chosen is most important to them. Maybe they've already run out of budget today. Whatever it is, you can see the importance of capturing your brand, because especially if I'm on mobile, this competitor just bought up I don't know what, most of the screen real estate that shows up when I'm looking for Chegg. So strong recommendation here that they're, protecting their brand in a way that allows them to not get subverted. And then the very last example that I have over here, I think is a great one. And this is a good example for somebody who's bidding on, this is a smaller company potentially. I don't really know how big Two Movers is, but if you're a small moving company and you see somebody you want to go bid on rent a U-Haul. Now, this is a qualifier bidding. U-Haul is still the target phrase. They're not bidding on rent, obviously. But if you just bid on U-Haul, as a lonesome dove, you're not going to necessarily get in front of the right prospect, because U-Haul could mean storage. It could mean somebody wants to buy boxes or packaging material or whatever. But if somebody searches for rent a U-Haul, now this is a person who's potentially moving. So if you're a small moving company, you can jump in there and you notice their ad copy says no need to rent a truck. Brilliant. So let's get in front of the U-Haul people and say, hey, don't do it yourself. We'll bring 2 people and a truck for you, and it'll probably cost you about the same. So really smart ways to bid on competitor brands and copy. And just, again, U-Haul's doing a ton of brand building. Chegg's doing brand building. Monday.com is doing brand building. Here's great opportunities for these other companies to sneak in there and capture some of that traffic. So some of the pros and cons: you're not going to pay unless somebody clicks, which is great, which is true for most search campaigns. You can outline competitive features in the ad copy. So even if you're not earning the click, you're still kind of sticking it to your competitors, which is really helpful too. And it's an easy way to identify prospects who are ready to buy. You can, like with the rent a U-Haul, you can look for high commercial intent phrases. The cons, these are really important. Branded traffic doesn't always necessarily translate to purchase intent. One of the things, we run a lot of campaigns for Montessori schools. We have an agency that's dedicated solely to Montessori schools, independent of Solutions 8. And when we bid on competitive schools for our clients, we have noticed sometimes, especially for really big schools, you end up paying for a click when mom was just looking for the phone number to call in saying she's running late. So when you bid on competitor phrases, pay attention to things like, an increase in solicitation, an increase in spam calls, an increase in people that are calling for that competitor for reasons that aren't sales related. That's number one. Number two, make sure that your sales team, whoever's answering the phone, make sure that they know that you're doing this. We had an experience with our Montessori schools where somebody was calling saying, oh, is this ABC Montessori? And our client would say, oh, no, it's not. Let me, and then on the phone, because she was a sweet person, started giving them their phone number. She looked it up for them. So let your whoever's answering the phone know, hey, we're bidding on competitive phrases. And so if somebody calls and says, is this Acme Acres? You could say, oh, what, it's not, but we actually provide the same service. Can I talk to you more about this, or can you tell me more about what you're interested in, and work on pivoting that traffic. And then be aware that competitors can return the favor. So it's very likely that when you start bidding on competitor phrases, they're going to start bidding on yours. I see it happen all the time. It's nothing to be afraid of. You kind of want to strike first, because chances are if they're not doing it, they will at some point, especially if they're hyper competitive. And if you're just now running paid traffic, you're going to start to make more of a dent, and people are going to start bidding on your brand anyway. So it does, don't worry about poking the bear. The benefit you have in a lot of instances, especially if you're using qualifier phrases, is there's some plausible deniability. Now, if you're bidding on just their brand name and that's it, they're probably going to know. But if you're using qualifier phrases like in the rent a U-Haul example, you can, in some instances, sort of veil the exact strategy that you're taking. So there's some disassociation there. Past search, we're going to use display. Display advertising in Google Ads is amazing. The Google Display Network reaches 90% of all internet users in the world, and 65% of those users are reached on a daily basis. So think about the breadth of that, just the reach that Google has. To use Google Display, you're going to use custom affinity audiences, and you're going to target by URL and interest, or interest, just depending on how specific the interest could be. So if, Coca-Cola, for instance, is a really ultra-specific interest, and what's nice about that phrase, Coca-Cola, is it's hard to confuse with anything else. So use the interests targeting sparingly. Make sure that you're only going after phrases that are ultra-branded in this particular use case. Because if you're just going after, generic interests, well, now you have a display campaign, and it's not a competitor campaign. So you can target by your competitor's URL. You can target by their interest. This doesn't necessarily mean that Google's going to take everybody that goes to your competitor's website and just batch and blast them with ads. What it does do, though, is it lets Google know, hey, this is the type of person I'm looking for. So can you get in front of your competitor's traffic? Yeah, absolutely. Will it, it's not a surefire plan from a display perspective, but you're telling Google, this is perfectly analogous to me. So if somebody goes to this website, I would like to be in front of somebody who looks just like that. And then Google's pretty smart. They know what you're saying here. Google targets in two different ways here. You'll notice that when you build out these affinity audiences on the left or on the right hand side, it shows you the number of potential impressions, and then the topics and the demographics. So demographically, this is who we're looking at. I have WordStream here as an example because they're one of my competitors. And I like WordStream, actually. I engage with their content, but just as an example. This is demographically who Google thinks engages with WordStream, and then this is topically who they may or may not be going after. So you can see, all of these, advertising, marketing, search engine optimization, marketing, these are really relevant until I get to business and industrial. And you start to see that Google has some ability here to expand beyond what I might want from a scope perspective. So I think display is really worth using, but just keep an eye on it and make sure that there aren't, some expansions that you think are too far off the wall. If there are, you might want to, remove a URL or two. And you can list all of your competitors right here in the display campaign. This is one of those ones where I think you can reach out with both hands. If you wanted to target a competitor specifically using, like some of what we talked about earlier with search, the comparison pages, or just going after some of their weaknesses, then you might want to have an individual URL. Again, there's no guarantee that you're going to get in front of all of the users that come to their site, but you are doing a lot here to make sure that you're, segmenting your users so they're more likely to have been people that are at least aware of them. We already talked about some of the pros of GDN. It's really expensive traffic. Display traffic is very cost effective, and it's high performing generally. People, I think, display has a bad name. Everybody thinks that it's just like batch and blast marketing. It's not. It's really targeted. There's a lot you can do with it. The cons we talked about a little bit too. Google can reach a little too far, so just be careful and keep an eye on. You can see some of the sites that you're landing on, so just keep an eye on that and make sure that you feel like the traffic is relevant, the distribution is relevant. That type of thing. Gmail, this is one of my favorites. So Google killed URL-specific targeting in 2017. You used to be able to tell Google, I want to go after these folks. You can't do that anymore. But you can bid on competitor brands, trademarks, product names, etc. So even though you can't give the web address, you can give, if your competitor has a really distinct name, and chances are they probably do if they're well branded, then you can bid on their name. You can bid on trademarks, products. Make sure when you're building your Google ads to use really competitive subject lines. Not Google ads, the Gmail ads. Gmail ads are an email, basically, just shows up in the top of Gmail. If you're using Gmail, you probably see them all the time. And you don't always necessarily register. But what you'll begin to notice is the Gmail ads, they're based around a lot of what you get inside of Gmail. And I'm going to show you an example here that's kind of scary. But before I do that, don't forget that there's actually what's been referred to as deep click analytics. So Google makes data available for Gmail ads, and this data isn't available anywhere else. You can see who forwards, who saves. If you have a distinct call to action built, sometimes you'll see click through. So really interesting metrics, and you can monitor the efficacy of your Gmail ads using this data. And this is just in the modified columns when you're inside of Google Ads. Here's an example using WordStream again. You'll notice this is an email from Google. So here's Google AdWords, and this is obviously old, but because WordStream went in there and said, hey, we want to bid on Google AdWords. Now their ad is showing up in two instances too. And I don't know quite how relevant the display ads are going to be for Gmail long term, but the text ads are definitely here to stay. And so dropping yourself in somebody's inbox right when they're reading an email from your competitor, that's pretty ninja, in my opinion. Pros, extremely relevant and focused search terms. Gmail ads are also generally high performing and low cost, assuming they're structured well. You will see, again, just like with display, you'll see some irrelevance depending on how expansive Google gets and how specific your phrases are that you're bidding on. YouTube, this one is maybe the most granular of all. You can actually show YouTube ads in videos that reference your competitor. You can show ads in front of your competitor's videos. If they have monetization turned on, it's really aggressive, but if this is what you want to do, I'd strongly recommend it. You can target their entire channel. You can target ultra-specific videos. You can actually create video responses. So if they have a video and you want to respond to it, you can bid on that video specifically. So inside of the targeting, you'll see that you can choose YouTube videos just by uploading the video code. You can't bid on every single video on YouTube. They have to have monetization turned on, but if they do, you can bid on that video. One of the things I strongly recommend is creating comparison videos. You versus the competitor. The same thing we were talking about with the landing pages. You can do that inside the video. And if there's a YouTube influencer in your space they'll pay that influencer to create the comparison video and then pay for that video to be placed on top of your competitor's video. So now you have, the name and facial recognition of an influencer right before they watch your competitor video. It's a pretty tough spot for your competitor to be in. But again, if you're taking the gloves off, this is the way to do it. A couple of examples: YouTube, just like Google, has text ads inside of their search. And, these ecosystems are changing all the time. But, inside the YouTube search, somebody searches for Asana and bam, you see Monday and Reich. Here's Monday getting back at Asana for bidding on their brand name. So know that you can do that inside of the YouTube search feature. So even if they don't have monetization turned on, you can still capture some of their YouTube traffic. So if you've got a competitor that's ultra active inside of YouTube, you can go at them with or without putting ads on top of their videos. And this is one of the cool ways to do that. And you also notice, look at how much real estate this is capturing. And it's just so readily apparent. They're using the isolation effect here. These are really strong and powerful ads. And I actually I feel like Monday is probably poking at Asana here too, when too simple is not enough. That's, I can't say clearly, but that feels like a nudge in Asana's direction. So I think they're doing a pretty good job. The other thing that I'll point out, another example, is here's a video. Now, this isn't a video from Udemy, but it's a video about Udemy, and bam, here's a masterclass video right in front of the Udemy video. Which is pretty cool. And you'll notice that masterclass is showing up here too, which generally happens instead of the in-stream ads or the bumper ads or whichever one it looks like a bumper ad. So you can drop your videos in front, in the middle of your competitors. Targeting specific channels, I think, is really ninja. Targeting specific videos, if you want to get that granular, that's the way to go. And you don't have to just target your competitors' videos. You can target videos about your competitors, like the Udemy example I just gave you. The thing that's tough about this is that media creation can be costly. Unless you're like me, you don't care. I've got weird shaggy hair and I'm just in my office and I don't have any of the bells and whistles. I feel like the quality of our content just sort of speaks for itself, and so I'm sort of willing to go and just fly with it. But if you want an ultra professional video, and you may, if you're going after a competitor, you may want to put your best foot forward there. They can be expensive. I like paying influencers for stuff. I like paying folks on Fiverr. They've got the whole setup already figured out. It doesn't cost me any time, effort, energy, money, and I'm not good at it. So I let them go do what they're going to be good at. Facebook ads. Sorry, I had to pause for water. Facebook is going to be one of the tougher ones if you're a smaller business. Now, let me back up. If you're targeting smaller businesses, so if your competitors are smaller businesses, chances are there's not a pre-identified segment inside of Facebook. If there is, great, go after it. And you'll notice that there's some pretty small, you don't have to be a huge mammoth company to get your own segment on Facebook. I've got some competitors that are small and they have their own segment for whatever reason. They do a lot of thought leadership and brand building and those types of things. So you can bid on their brand inside of Facebook directly, and this is where I think the ninja trick comes in, is there are actually third-party tools that allow you to narrow the audience. Leadinforce is one that, now, first of all, I'm not an affiliate. Again, this is a non-affiliate link if I have one in the description. But they're the ones that I would recommend, at least in the short term. And I think what they do, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think what they do is they're using bots to go identify people that have liked pages and joined groups. And then they're crawling, capturing, exporting that data, and somehow appending contact information. And they're creating custom audiences. It's a really intelligent approach to capturing competitor prospect information. However, I think it might be a policy violation from Facebook. So, obviously the pro here is you get to target prospects who have already engaged with your competitor. Some of the cons, the audience size might be really limited depending on how big your competitor is. You're going to be pushing ads in front of people who have overtly articulated the fact they're fans of your competitor. So expect some nasty comments. And then the way that Facebook allows you to use custom audiences, I don't think is technically in line with the way that what's the company's called? Leadinforce is offering. So just be aware of that. You may or may not be, playing by the rules. Depends on how aggressive you want to get. And then the last one is Twitter. I've actually never done this personally, but in preparation for this video, I stumbled upon this. What you can do, it's kind of cool. You can pay for a list of someone's followers. There's a company I found called followersanalysis.com. I've never used them, so this isn't me promoting them at all. I'm just letting you know that this type of service exists. They will go through and they'll give you all of the handles, and then you can target people by handle. And according to Twitter, you need at least 30 handles per campaign to ensure a large enough audience. And that's it. So, an example here is Ryan Deiss, who's I look to as a mentor. I could buy all of his Twitter followers for $62, which feels really cheap, by the way. If I could target everybody who's ever followed Ryan Deiss. Now, Ryan's followers aren't really analogous to my business, but if there was somebody who did not, there was Larry Kim might be a good example. Larry Kim, for a long time before he moved on to Mobile Monkey, he was a Google Ads guy. And so if I wanted to go find all of Larry Kim's followers and start advertising them, that might be a good ninja move for me. Some pros and cons: you get in front of the right people. They're already following your competitors. Twitter tends to be relatively inexpensive traffic, mostly because nobody uses it anymore. And what's kind of cool is you can create lookalike audiences, which is really nifty. The cons, it's Twitter. Enough said. If there's anything that I can do better in these videos, I really want to get good at this. So please go to soul8.com/better. Quick little survey. It's 100% anonymous. It's 3 questions. And just help coach me on what's going on and what it is that I might be able to improve upon. Until then, if you like this video and I provided some level of value, hit that little thumbs up. That makes me feel good about myself. Feel free to subscribe. We're shooting videos like this every single day. So if you subscribe and you hit that little bell, you're going to get notified anytime the videos come out. And if it's good content, then you're going to profit and benefit and all that good stuff. Share this with friends, family, countrymen, whoever, someone that you think could benefit. But otherwise, I appreciate you watching. We're really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers because we want to be able to go live, and Google doesn't let you do live videos until you have 1,000 subscribers. So I think we're a third of the way there, but if you can help boost us up, I would be forever grateful to you and for you. Until then, I will see you on our next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.